Yeah, so what I was thinking is they don't want you to take the guns away, but what you do is they're like, well, the criminals will get all the guns. Like, no. Make everything a capital offense. Everything. So like if you burp in public, you get euthanized. Does that sound right?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, we're recording. Oh, hey, this is Hans the Ramen Raider coming at you with another episode of Instant Noodle Recipe Time, the show where I show you happiness, joy, and how to do things with your instant noodles. And today I've got one from the happy madcap country of China. This is Shoo Loong. I think it's another hot pot, so hopefully it's not a 0-star like the other day. And we have our esteemed colleague Matt B from the amazing place in the stars called whatever it's called, where he lives. And yeah, he's writing a book about a serial killer based on letters he received from said serial killer. So why don't you fill us in about that? Wow.
Hey, great to be on the show today. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity to discuss my work. Yeah, so I corresponded with a convicted serial killer named Joseph Edward Duncan III for 2 years, in the attempts to, philosophically understand evil, and in the hopes that I'd be able to make a writing project out of it someday. My original project sort of fell through. He did pass away recently, and I've taken all of our correspondence, so it's 2 years worth of letters back and forth, covering all sorts of topics. The things that he did, general like philosophical issues of empathy, punishment, morality, human sacrifice, the whole plethora of the human experience. And I'm compiling all of that with commentary on the topics discussed.
Are there like quips?
I'm sorry?
Are there like quips and like funny quips?
There is a surprising amount of humor in his correspondence, I must say.
That's great. Wow.
Mr. Duncan was a prolific user of the smiley face emoji.
That's so jacked up.
That's so
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Weird. So I've been going through, I haven't read all these letters in a long time, and going back through to transcribe them all. I mean, I'm fascinated by how interesting his perspective is, and I'm also just horrified anew at the material. You know what I mean? It's a very, very tough subject. It's difficult to put your head into on a daily basis. You wake up in the morning, you cook some breakfast, you sit down at your desk, you got to put your head into that mind space. It's really weird, man. I sent you a little clip the other day, a little excerpt.
Yeah, you should read that if you've got it handy. Yeah, you should read that if you got it handy, because that's like really screwed up. That's the kind of stuff you're dealing with. I couldn't handle it. I mean, I know you don't have kids, but having kids, that makes it worse. I mean, it shouldn't make it worse. Horrible things should just be horrible whether you have children or not. But
right.
That's messed up.
No, I feel it, dude. I feel it. So yeah, it's right here. So, Jesus. So this is where he uses Galileo to justify pedophilia, basically.
Whoa.
So check that, I know that we must admit that adult child sex is not harmful before we will ever learn what we must do to stop causing so much harm with it! Exclamation point. I'm not saying, in parentheses, I'm not saying child sex is healthy or normal. All I'm saying is exactly what the study shows. It's that it's not harmful.
What study is that?
He was quoting some study that was on adult child sex, and he wanted me to respond to it. Oh. He wanted me to check out the study and respond to it. It's in the correspondences, and that'll be addressed in the book. So he goes on. We must acknowledge this before we can move on to a world war where crime, in quotations, is no longer a problem, in quotations, just as we had to accept that the Earth wasn't the center of the universe before we could grasp the concept of gravity. And once we understood gravity and the idea of forces in general, we were able to solve all sorts of problems from flight to space travel.
So, wow, that's a leap.
Yeah. You just went right from adult-child sex is not so bad, and if we figured it, if we realize that, maybe we could go to Mars.
Yeah, that's a little weird. It's like, you know, you could bag kids once in a while, and you never know. You might cure cancer. I don't know. I'm just not seeing it.
Basically what he's saying, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
This guy. I had forgot how, I mean, towards the end, we weren't even talking about that stuff. We were just talking about his health and the writing project I had proposed and all this kind of stuff. And it was a kind of a different relationship than the details of his monstrous deeds. And
Right.
Going back through all this material, I even sent you a message. I was like, I forgot how crazy this guy was.
Yeah, you did, yeah. Well, there's a reason that people end up on death row, I suppose.
He definitely earned it multiple times over.
Yeah. It's just horrible, though. I mean, God. But, I mean, it's fascinating, though, too. It's like, what makes a person into that? Or...
society, in his case. So he was 17 years old. He had an abusive childhood. He claims he was molested by his sister, you know, all this kind of stuff. And when he was like 17, he took an unloaded handgun. He found the neighbor kid, a dude, who was 15, brought him out to the woods, put his penis in his mouth at gunpoint, which was
my
unloaded,
God.
and put a cigarette out on his butt. Okay, and they gave him 20 years in prison for that. Charged him as an adult.
How old was he?
He was 17. He was immediately thrown into the sexual psychopath treatment program. Okay,
Probably a good fit. Yeah.
where they classified him as an adult offender, a predator. Told him he was horrible. He started lying about all these people he had molested just to like brag and keep up with the group and get some seniority there. And they eventually kicked him out of the program, right into prison. He was like 18.
Wow.
And was immediately sexually assaulted multiple times, gang raped, beaten. He ended up having a large African American boyfriend in prison in his blog he just goes into detail about sleeping with the dude. His mind broke. He became like fully homosexual in prison, and he was just a prison whore and just all this kind of stuff. And he was trying to get an education. They kept bouncing him around so he couldn't get his education on purpose and get out. And he just hated it. He hated society. He hated them for putting him in there for so long. He felt it was incredibly cruel. He felt he just, in 20 years, 17, it ended up being 17 years in prison. And when he got out, he said, I am going to hurt society. And he went after kids.
Wow. What a weirdo. I don't know. I just don't, I guess there's just like certain fuses that people have then where they can't really identify with that or really understand it, but it's definitely a fascinating thing, I mean,
it is.
It's like,
I'm not just blanket statement here. I'm not justifying anything.
Sure.
I'm not trying to normalize any of his behavior or any of these concepts or things. I am trying to dig down into a difficult subject and see if I can find some answers here or some enlightenment or wisdom. Who better to get it from if you can stomach it? You know, it's kind of like digging around in the toilet to find your lost wedding ring or something. There's some analogy there. I'm not sure, but it's been a weird experience. And yeah, he recently passed, and it was an odd emotion. This monster is gone. You look on the boards on like Reddit, and the news boards, and it's just like, thank God he's gone, and all this kind of stuff. And of course, a monster has been removed from the world, but when you understand more about what compelled him to do these things and his actual thoughts on them, it becomes it's not so simple.
Well, I mean, the fact that he's even going into such detail about his like philosophy about existence in the world, I think probably most people, when you think about a psycho killer, you just think they're just like an animal.
You do, and that's the misconception I'm trying to, pull the veil back from, and we can see. No, I'm not saying they're not all like that. There are surely some who are just, very animalistic and barbaric. This guy, had a very clearly defined set of reasons and justifications, and at the end, he snapped out of it and understood that he was quote unquote bad, to use his own words. He describes his motive, and he turned himself in. He brought this 6-year-old girl back to town, let the police take her, turned himself in, cooperated fully, you know what I mean, and all this kind of stuff. So he had this epiphany at the end where he said, I was just living in fear. I was afraid, all this stuff. All this stuff. I've been spent my entire adult life in prison, 17 years. I was afraid and full of hate. And then at the end, I realized it. And then I stopped.
Wow. That's so weird.
And then he spent the next 15 years in prison. So that guy was in prison for 30 years of his 55 years or something like 56 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, this will be coming out. This episode will be coming out very much towards the end of April. Or no, June. Towards the end of June. You're planning on having this all wrapped up and ready for sale by then, so...
Yeah, definitely. It should be released by then. It'll be called Letters from Jet. My correspondence with Joseph Edward Duncan 3, Letters from Jet. It'll be on Amazon. Jet was his nickname that he insisted that I call him in his first letter. It's a nickname his mom gave him. Jet, like a jet airplane.
Wow. What the heck is this thing? This looks like some kind of alien mollusk. No, I have no idea what I just ate. Weird. It tastes like it's growing. Well, I don't know what flavor this is. I'll have to look, but this isn't bad. It's fascinating. Let me put it that way, yeah. This is a fascinating food stuff that I really don't understand. You need to write a book about this, because this is you'd be like, what am I eating?
Does it possess a certain je ne sais quoi?
I think it's all je ne sais what you say. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely I don't know. It's funny stuff. Well, you gonna hang out for another episode?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the next episode we will talk about the fine films that we both enjoy. There's Dune, there's Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, and then of course there's the inimitable Logan's Run.
Logan's Run.
Yes. Logan's Run is one of the finest films ever created. And when what was her name died? They mentioned that every once in a while that it was a cult film that most people didn't know what it was. It's like everybody worth their salt has seen Logan's Run.
Sure, yeah.
All right, Rotato, you do your stuff. It's magic time. If they ever make a movie about the guy, maybe they could use this music in the background. It'd be kind of disturbing.
I heard it, and that's immediately what I thought. I was like, that'd be perfect for the opening credits. You know what I mean?
So the next one we're going to have is Super Bihun Goreng. It'll be the last one I'm doing today, but the fourth one in a row here you're watching on the show. It's Indonesian, and look. People are like, that's a fish. I'm like, that's not a fish. That's a bomb. What's up with that? So, fish and bomb in heart. Yeah. This has been Hans the Ramen Raider wishing you enjoyment of your noodles each and every day. Have a good one, and bye-bye.